My sister stole my fiancé, but what happened at their wedding was better than any revenge I could have planned. Okay, so I need to preface this by saying I am not a dramatic person. I am the type of woman who returns wrong change at the grocery store. I once drove 45 minutes back to a restaurant because I accidentally took someone else's to-go bag. I apologize to furniture when I bump into it. I am, by every measurable standard, a low-conflict human being. So when I tell you that I sat in a church parking lot eating a gas station sandwich and watched my sister's wedding implode in real time through a crack in their door, please understand this was not something I orchestrated. I was just there. The universe did the heavy lifting. And honestly, the universe did a better job than I ever could have. My name is irrelevant. Call me Beth. I'm 31. I live in Ohio, which is already its own punishment. And for most of my life, I shared that punishment with my younger sister, Kayla. Kayla and I are 2 years apart. Growing up, people always said we looked alike, same dark hair, same eyes. But that's where the similarity ended. Kayla was the fun one, the loud one, the one who walked into rooms and immediately became the center of them. She had this laugh that made strangers turn around and smile, this energy that just pulled people in. I was the other one. I don't say that with bitterness anymore. I've done a lot of therapy, a lot of journaling, a suspicious amount of herbal tea. I've accepted that in my family's internal mythology, Kayla was the sun and I was like a moderately sized moon. Fine. Moons are important. Moons affect tides. Moons have their thing. My parents loved us both, technically. But Kayla got the, oh my God, she's amazing kind of love, and I got the, we're proud of you, honey kind. You know the difference. It's not in the words, it's in the volume. Anyway, I had mostly made peace with all of that by the time I met Michael. Michael came into my life at 31, and it felt like, okay, this is embarrassing to admit, it felt like finally. Like the universe going, sorry for the delay, here's your guy. He was tall and funny, and he made me coffee without being asked and remembered that I hated cilantro. He proposed after 1.5 years with a ring that was exactly what I would have picked myself. For the first time in my life, I felt like I had won something. I should have known winning felt too weird on me to last. The cracks were small at first, almost invisible. Michael started mentioning Kayla a lot, like casually. Oh, Kayla texted me something funny. Kayla recommended this restaurant. Your sister's hilarious. You know that? Which fine. He was joining my family. It made sense that he'd get to know her. I told myself that was normal. Then Kayla started coming around more, dropping by when Michael was home, laughing at everything he said, touching his arm when she talked to him, which is just how Kayla is. She's touchy, always has been. But something in my chest started doing this slow, low hum, like a warning sound my body was producing before my brain caught up. I mentioned it to my mom once, just casually. Hey, does it seem like Kayla's around a lot lately? My mom said, oh, she just loves Michael. Isn't that sweet? She wants to be part of the wedding. Right. Sweet. The Sunday I caught them was 3 months before the wedding. I came home early from brunch with a friend, food poisoning, as it turned out, which means I was literally betrayed by a quiche and my sister in the same afternoon. And I walked into my own living room and there they were, on my couch. They weren't doing anything technically explicit, but they were close. Too close. Kayla's head was tilted toward him. His hand was on her knee. And they had this look, the specific kind of look people have when they've been caught doing something they're not technically doing yet, but were absolutely about to. The three of us just froze. I remember thinking, weirdly clearly, The pillow behind Michael's head is the one Mom gave us for Christmas. I don't know why that was the detail that stuck. Then Kayla said, "Beth," and I walked back out. Here's where it gets embarrassing. Not for me, for my entire family. Within 48 hours, I had received calls from my mother, my father, my Aunt Linda, my grandmother, who is 83 and should not have been involved in this, and 2 cousins I hadn't spoken to in years, who apparently follow family drama like a sport. The actual consensus that my family had apparently reached in a group chat I was not part of, was that I should let it go. My mom said, "You don't want to ruin Kayla's happiness." My dad said, "Michael wasn't right for you anyway. You two were always a little mismatched." Cool dad, great timing. Aunt Linda said, "These things happen, sweetheart. Men are complicated." My grandmother, bless her, said, "In my day, you just moved on." And I think she meant it kindly, but it landed like a brick. Nobody, not one person, said this is wrong and we're sorry. What they said, collectively, was please don't make this a whole thing. So Michael moved out. He and Kayla went public 3 weeks later with a joint Instagram post that had the audacity to use the phrase, "Sometimes love finds you when you least expect it." My sister got 600 comments. I got a Venmo request from Michael for the Netflix password he still used for 2 weeks after the breakup. I went quiet, blocked the numbers I needed to block, found a therapist, cried into a respectable but not alarming quantity of wine, started running, which I hate, but apparently heartbreak and spite are excellent cardio motivators. I did not go to the engagement party. I said I had plans. The plan was staying home watching nature documentaries and eating cereal for dinner. It was actually a really good night. And then they set a wedding date. 6 months after I found them on my couch. 6 months. I was not invited. Obviously. But Ohio is small and gossip is fast, and somehow I knew everything anyway. Venue, caterer, dress color, ivory, not white, which a lot of people noted was an interesting choice for Kayla. I knew because people kept telling me, the way people tell you things they think will hurt you dressed up as information sharing. I didn't respond to any of it. I just existed, quietly, in my post-Michael life, which was actually getting pretty decent. I got a promotion. I got a cat. I started making really good soup. Life was fine. Life was genuinely, stubbornly fine. And then, 2 weeks before the wedding, a woman named Dana called me. I almost didn't answer. Unknown number, middle of a Thursday afternoon, and I was in the middle of a work call. I let it go to voicemail. Then I listened to the voicemail, and this calm voice, kind of flat, like she'd rehearsed, said, "My name is Dana. I believe we have a mutual acquaintance. His name is Michael. I think we need to talk." I called her back within 30 seconds. Dana lived in Tennessee, Nashville. She was 34. She had a son named Oliver, who was 4 years old. She and Michael had been together for 6 years. I want you to sit with that number. 6 years. While Michael was proposing to me in a restaurant in Columbus. While he was meeting my parents. While he was picking out a ring that was exactly what I would have chosen. While he was letting my grandmother call him the one at Christmas dinner. While all of that was happening, Dana was in Nashville, raising Oliver, apparently under the impression that Michael traveled a lot for work. He did, in fact, travel a lot, to Ohio, to see me, and then apparently to see my sister. Dana had found out 3 months ago. A friend of a friend, that whole thing. She'd done some digging. She found me on social media and figured out the full picture pretty quickly, because Michael, it turns out, was not a careful liar. He just relied on distance and the assumption that women don't talk to each other. Rookie mistake, Michael. Here's where it gets almost funny, in a horrible way. Dana was also invited to the wedding. Michael had apparently told her he had a cousin getting married. He had sent her a save the date. She had RSVP'd yes. She had bought a dress. She called me because she wanted to know if I was going to show up. And if so, she wanted to coordinate. I told her I wasn't invited. She said, "Do you want to be there anyway?" I thought about it for maybe 4 seconds. "Yeah," I said. "I really do." The wedding was on a Saturday in April. I drove 3 hours to be there, which is completely unhinged behavior, and I stand by every mile. Dana drove up from Nashville. We met in the parking lot of the church an hour before the ceremony, and I want to tell you she was lovely, normal, tired in the way that single parents always are, with a 4-year-old in a tiny clip-on tie sitting in the back seat eating a granola bar. Oliver had Michael's nose and eyes, and the moment I saw that kid, I felt something in my chest do a strange, slow drop. "He doesn't know I'm here," Dana said. "Michael doesn't know." "Kayla doesn't know I'm here either," I said. We looked at each other. The plan was simple. We weren't going to do anything dramatic. We weren't going to interrupt the ceremony. We were just going to be present, visible, and let the situation unfold naturally, because Dana had brought the photos printed out, 3 of them, taken at a birthday party for Oliver 6 weeks ago, and she had also brought the text messages, screenshotted, which included messages from approximately 10 days before Michael's wedding to my sister. 10 days. We sat in the back pew. Neither of us said anything. Oliver ate a second granola bar. Quietly, though. Good kid. The ceremony started. Kayla looked beautiful. I'm not going to pretend she didn't. She walked down the aisle in that ivory dress, and she was radiant, and I felt, I don't know, something complicated. Something I don't have a clean word for. Michael, at the altar, looked like a man waiting for a bus he wasn't sure was coming. The officiant got to the vows. Michael said his. Kayla said hers. Everyone sniffled appropriately. And then the moment. The part everyone expects and nobody actually believes happens in real life. If anyone knows of a reason these two should not be joined in marriage. I had genuinely not planned this. I want to be clear. Dana and I had specifically agreed we were not going to do this part. But Oliver Sweet, 4-year-old Oliver in his little clip-on tie, looked up at his mother and said, in a completely normal volume for a 4-year-old, which is to say, very loud, "Mommy, is that Daddy?" and pointed at the altar. The entire church turned around. Dana went bright red. I actually had to press my hand over my mouth. Not from sadness. From the sheer deranged absurdity of the moment. Michael saw us, saw Dana, saw me, and I watched his face do something I don't have words for, like every single lie he'd ever told tried to exist in his expression at the same time, and none of them fit. Kayla followed his gaze. Saw me first, then saw Dana, then looked at Michael. She said, "Who is that?" He said nothing. She said louder, "Michael, who is that woman?" Dana, very quietly, very calmly, said, "I'm his girlfriend. This is our son." What followed was not elegant. Michael said it was complicated. In a church, during his wedding. Kayla said a word I will not repeat here, but it started with an F, and it bounced off every single stained glass window in that building. My mother, who was in the 3rd pew, made a sound like a deflating pool toy. The maid of honor started crying, which was kind of her, but also not helpful. The flower girl, who was maybe 7, looked around at all the screaming adults and began very philosophically eating the rest of her flower petals. Michael tried to grab Kayla's arm, She yanked it away so hard she knocked over a Unity candle, which rolled under a pew and caused a small secondary panic about fire risk. Dana, Oliver, and I were, by this point, standing in the side aisle, not doing anything, just present. Dana had the photos in her hand. She didn't even need to show them. Michael's face had already shown everything. His best man, to his credit, put a hand on Michael's shoulder and said, "Man, I told you." Which suggests this was known, and I have so many questions about the social dynamics of Michael's friend group. Kayla's dad, my dad, stood up from the pew, looked at the situation, looked at me. His face did something complicated. He sat back down. I thought, yeah, that tracks. At some point, a coordinator tried to get everyone to go into the reception hall. Nobody went. The guests sort of milled around the church entrance in little clusters, the way people do at cocktail parties when they're all looking at the same thing, but pretending not to. I watched my sister stand at the altar in her ivory dress with her bouquet still in her hand, and I watched the full, specific horror of public humiliation move across her face. The realization that everyone was seeing this, that there was nowhere to go, that the exit was lined with people. I had imagined, in my darker moments over the past 8 months, what it might feel like for Kayla to understand what she had done to me. What it was like to be the one left standing. It didn't feel as good as I thought it would. Mostly it felt sad and strange, and a little bit like looking in a mirror that was slightly broken. Dana took Oliver outside. I followed. We sat on the church steps, and Oliver found a beetle and became intensely focused on that, which was the most emotionally intelligent response to the situation. "Well," Dana said. "Yeah," I said. We sat there for a while. Michael and Kayla did not get married that day. He left the church separately. She left separately. I don't know what happened after that. I've been in no contact with basically my entire family for 8 months now, except for my grandmother, who sends me coupons in the mail and asks how the cat is. The cat is great. His name is Bertrand. He has strong opinions about mornings. Dana is back in Nashville. We text sometimes. Oliver apparently asked for a week if his daddy was at the other lady's house, and then got very interested in dinosaurs and moved on in the way that 4-year-olds do, with a decisiveness adults could really learn from. I don't know what Michael's situation is now, and I genuinely don't care. I think about him roughly as often as I think about the check engine light I ignored for 3 months in 2019. Briefly, with mild dread, then not at all. Kayla called me twice in the week after. I didn't answer. She texted, "I understand if you hate me." I didn't respond to that either, not because I hate her, but because I don't have a reply that's true, and also something I want to say out loud yet. Maybe someday. My mom asked if I was happy now. I said, "I wasn't trying to make anything happen, Mom. I just showed up." Which is true, and also maybe the most honest thing I've ever said to her. Here's the thing about spending your whole life being the moon. You get used to not being seen. You get quiet. You stop taking up space. And then something happens that forces you into the center of a room you didn't plan to be in, and everyone stares, and you realize you're still standing. I drove home that Saturday with the windows down and the radio on something stupid, and I stopped at a gas station and got a terrible sandwich and ate it in the parking lot, and it was maybe the best I'd felt in a year. Oliver found his beetle. I found mine. That's enough.